Welcome back to Julie's Wreath Boutique. Today we're going to make a farmhouse inspired flower. I love the feel of this flower. It has kind of a burlap feel to it, but some softness of the cotton within the burlap. I've had this mesh forever, but the Wreath Shop will have it in stock very, very soon. So let's get started. We're going to use a few things from the Dollar Tree. We're going to use this fabulous mesh. We're going to use a 12-inch wreath frame, and I'm going to talk about how you can turn that into a 10-inch wreath frame. So let's get started. Okay, so let's get started. Here's the first step we're going to do is we're going to cut our mesh. Now, this is a mesh I've had for a very long time, and I thought, you know, this reminds me of snow and it's so soft, and I thought I really want to use it. So I'm going to cut it with my wood burner, and even though, as you can see, there is some like snow drift in here, my wood burner still will cut through this. Now, make sure there are a few things. Make sure you have a glass cutting board is what I use. I have these in my Amazon shop. The link is always in the description box below. Or you could use like an old cookie sheet that was metal, not the, I don't think a coated one would work. But if you don't have that, this is just another method. So what I do is there's always something to cut over my rotary cutting mat. I've had a few people message me and say, I ruined my mat. Don't cut directly on this mat. You will ruin it. The reason why I have a clear glass is because I like to see my lines and it helps me. So we're going to just cut it. Make sure you're wearing a mask. Make sure you're protecting yourself from this because this will put off fumes. We are cutting plastic here. So I'm just going to show you, I'm going to go through the lines here and you're going to see that it will go through that white mesh. This is like called a snowdrift. So that one was a little awesome. Let me do another one. And you're going to see the smoke. So I'm just going to go through it. I've already got a bunch of mesh already cut off, or cut up, I should say, not cut off. That's not even a word, Julie. But I'm going to put this over here and we're going to get started on the next part, the frame. Okay, so today we're going to use a 12-inch frame. And I've showed how I did this before and many times in many of my videos. But I just took a plastic canvas shape is what it's called. But you can find this like at Hobby Lobby and Joann's. I don't think Michael's sells it, but most craft places have this. And this is the 5 count. You can use the 7 count. It's just a little stiffer and the squares are smaller. So what I did was I took it, I drew a line around the innermost circle. I have this. So now I'm going to just take this and I'm going to attach it with my zip ties to the frame. Okay, so let's start with the first layer. Now, 10-inch wreath forms are like my go-to wreath form, and you've seen many videos where I've taught you with the 10-inch. Right now, they're hard to find if you can find them, but they are making a comeback, and they will be on the market soon. I'm thinking maybe January, okay? I've been working with a company, and so they are coming back, all right? So that's exciting. But before we get there, we're going to use a 12-inch wreath frame. And I want to talk about how you can take a 12-inch wreath frame and use it as if it was a 10-inch wreath frame. Now, if you used it like, if you just kind of left out this outer rim and just ignored it, okay? And you said, okay, so this is about 10 3/4 inches right here, okay? Almost 11 inches if you use this second, all right? So most of the time in most of my videos, what do I tell you to do? If you treated this as the outer frame, I would tell you to use the next one. So if you want to use this as if it was like a 10-inch frame, I would tell you to start on bar 3. So this is what I do, bar 1, bar 2, bar 3, and bar 4. So if you're wanting to make a wreath and you don't have a 10-inch frame, simply buy a 12-inch frame and start on bar 3 instead of bar 2. This will move your wreath inside and it will make it smaller, so when you go to ship it, because it is more expensive to ship these days, it is easier to do if you use a 10-inch wreath frame. That's one of the reasons why I love the 10-inch. It's a very reasonable wreath size to ship, and so that's what I do. Okay, so let's get on to our wreath today. So the wreath we're going to do today, we are going to use a 12-inch wreath, And I am going to start on layer 2, and we're going to do something that we've always done. It's very simple. If you've been watching my videos for any length of time, you know what I do. I just take my zip tie, and we're going to start where the bracket is. I'm going to lay it there, and I'm just going to take my mesh, and this white stuff feels so nice. I'm just going to tell you, it feels really soft. I'm going to have the bottom here, the top here. I'm going to meet in the middle. I'm going to gather, flip it over, and then I'm going to lay this one over top of the back petal. I'm going to just take it and I'm going to attach it to my ring here. All right, that's it. So what do I do next? I'm going to take another one and I'm going to put it on that same bar too. And I'm going to keep repeating that process. Flip it over, and then you're just going to put it on. Now, when I do this and they're all the same color, I don't have to worry about, you know, the way they lay and everything. So what I do is I take this one and I lay it over top because it has that finished edge. And I want that finished edge to be what people see the most. So what we're going to do is we're going to go and we're going to put 2 inside the 2 brackets. Again, bottom, finished top, meet in the middle, gather, flip it over. I kind of pinch it and then lay one petal over the other. And I'm just going to add it. Oops. Helps if you have the zip tie going the right way. Now, these are my favorite zip ties. I'm going to leave you a specific link in the description box below to get these zip ties if they still have them in stock. If they don't have them in stock, I'll let you know here on the screen if they do. But these literally are the best zip ties that I have ever used. And I love them. They're easy to use and they don't hurt my hands. So the next one, we're going to go to the bracket and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to grab a piece of mesh here and I'm going to meet in the middle, flip it over and attach it to my frame. And again, I didn't twist over the zip tie. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to repeat this process all the way around my ring, and I'll be back and I'll show you the next step. Okay, so at this point, if you wanted to use a different color, go right ahead. There are so many different neat meshes, especially like at places at the Wreath Shop and Trinity Tree. I like both of those places. I have great customer service from both of them. Of course, my links are down below. I always like to fix things. But what you could do is you could add a different color if you wanted to make this more Christmassy or more fall, maybe more spring. I'm doing more of a farmhouse look, and I like the farmhouse look. I like the neutral look because it's kind of like an all year round type of wreath. So the next point we're going to work on is we're not going to be working on the bars, but we're going to start focusing on the mesh. And so we're going to be like focusing right on the other side of the bar 4 that's on our wreath frame. So what petal are we going to do for here? We're going to use the Dean Michael Designs petal. I will leave her channel below. She has some great tutorials, and she's the one that originally came up with this petal. So this is what it looks like, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to put it together. So we're going to take our mesh, and again, I'm going to use the bottom, top. I'm going to come over, and we're going to make a triangle. And at the bottom base here, our long point, I'm going to start here, and I'm just going to gather it until I have a daisy petal. So at this point, you could have your zip tie ready to put down, but I always like to kind of make these ahead. And if I have the time to do it, got the, yep, that was right. I don't know why I didn't think that was right. And then I just put them on my frame. But again, you don't have to do this step. You can just simply put it on. So at this point, usually the petal would be like this. It would be like cupped down. But what we're going to do is we're going to cup it up. So our petal is more like this. Okay? See that? It's not going to be straight. It's going to be more cupped. All right. So how are we going to put this? So what I want to do is I want to kind of have the two. When you have a bar here and a bar here, I want a petal here and I want a petal here, so that we'll actually have 2 petals in between. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my zip tie. I almost put it on the bar there and I don't want to do that. And I'm just going to lay it there. And then I'm going to attach my petal. All right, so this way the petal is covering up where you could see through here, so I like that. So let's take another zip tie. So here I only have one in between, and that's okay. I'm gonna place my zip tie in that mesh, and I'm gonna place another petal there. All right. So this is how I'm going to kind of, I don't know, space out my petals, because when we're done, we're gonna put them all the way in between here. So I'm gonna cut this off and cut this. So here I am. I've got a petal here and a petal here. So I've got two, and we're going back by this bracket. So basically you're gonna put 3 petals per section. All right, I'm going to show you really quick here what I mean when I say that, because I want everything to lay down just right. All right, so now, so we've got a bar here and a bar here. So I was wrong. It's not 3 per section. You're really just putting 2 per section. So you just want 2 petals to lay per section. So that would be, we have 6 sections. So we're going to have 12 of these petals throughout the inside of this wreath frame. So I'm going to put 2 here, 2 here, 2 here, 2 here, and an extra one here to make that final 2. So I'll be back when I get that all done. So I think this is coming really pretty. And if you can't find this mesh, it's okay. Use a different mesh. Use one of those poly burlaps that have, you know, maybe a platinum. And if you want a different contrast, I guess is what I should say, you can use deco mesh for this. You just might need to add extra petals, because you might have to, you don't want it to see through. So that's why I like poly burlap, because it's just a thicker material. So the last step we're going to do, and at this point, I should say, you could be done. You could make a nice big center for your wreath. Like if you had a really pretty, maybe sign, maybe you have like a farmhouse sign, a Christmas sign, and put it here. And if it fills the spot, use it. And then all you use, if you use a 12-inch wreath frame, is 30 petals. That's 1 roll of this mesh, okay? But I'm going to take it further. I'm going to go in towards the flower, so it gives you another option. And then I'm going to show you hopefully a new center. I have this idea. We're going to see if it pulls it all together, okay? So what I did was I made more of those petals, but I did something very different with this one, okay? Because we have this contrast of this white, you know, as you notice, we've got it going this direction. Now it's going this direction. So I want to make that opposite. So what I did was I want you to take your mesh, and instead of having the finish at the bottom and the finish at the top, we're going to turn it to its side, okay? So one's on the right, one's on the left, and we're going to go over and we're going to do it just like we did before. And then that way it gives our petal a different direction of where that white is going. So I'm just going to go ahead and put this here. Okay, so now what am I going to do? I'm going to take my wreath here, and I'm going to take my zip tie, and I'm going to take one of these, and I'm going to see where I want it to lay. I'm going to see where I want it to start. Okay, so we're going to start about right there. So you're just going to take a petal, and you're going to make sure it's going to lay nice. Okay. I'm going to take my petal, and normally we would have it like this. And I'm going to attach it to that frame, okay? But what I'm going to do is, instead of having it come like this, I'm going to bend it over just a little bit. And if you're using like a deco mesh, you're not going to be able to do this. But I'm just going to change the look of it. So we've got this coming up. We have this a flatter look. And now we're going to have like this little dent into our petal there. So I'm just going to keep, I think we're going to do 6, maybe 7 petals. We just want to lay these so that they're not like on top of each other. But I want to see the look of this particular mesh that I'm using. So I'm going to lay it down right here. And I'm going to just keep adding my petals, and then I'm just going to gently bend it over just a tad, okay? Just a tad. So I'm gonna keep putting these, and then we're gonna start on the middle of our wreath. All right, so now we're gonna work on the center of this wreath, and then we'll put it all together. This is gonna be very simple to do. I'm going to take one of these 4.8 inch round disc floral foams you can get at Dollar Tree. There's 2 in a package for $1, so that's a really good deal. And what I did was I painted it. Now I painted it this brown color because I wanted it to kind of match the wreath that we're making. So whatever color wreath you're making and you want that color to kind of pop out, use that. And then the thing that we're going to go over top of is a Dollar Tree doily. Now these can be found like in the kitchen wares department, like where the towels, the kitchen towels and the kitchen utensils are. At least at my Dollar Tree is where they are found. So I'm going to get rid of this, and I'm going to just kind of lay this over top here. And what I liked about this was that center flower was like the perfect size for this little foam circle. Couldn't think right there for a moment. Okay, so I'm just gonna like eyeball it, and I'm going to just take it and I'm going to go underneath here. We're gonna flip it over, and I've got a good hold on it. So I'm gonna keep it because I don't want it to move on me. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my little T-pens. If you've been watching me for a while, you know I like these little T-pens with the little T. They look like a T. And people get on to me about saying pens versus pins. Am I not saying it right? I don't know. So pins, I'm trying to be very clear. So I'm just going to keep bringing it up one side here. And we're going to trim some of this off because this is going to be a little too much. Oh, there went my elephants. You guys know about my herd. If you don't know about my herd, those are my children. They're upstairs running around. So this is fall of 2020. We homeschooled this year. What are you doing? Are your kids at school? Are your grandkids at school? Are they at home? What have you had to do in this new world that we have found ourselves living in? So I'm going to go on this side. And at this point, let me get some good scissors. Let me go get some good scissors and I'll be right back. Okay, so I found them. And so I'm going to kind of trim some of this up, kind of get this bulk out of the way. I don't know about you, but I'm very guilty of this. I have good scissors and I'll be like, oh, those are only for fabric. And then I'll be like in a little bind and I'll be really impatient and I'll use them on something and then they get dull. I want to kick myself for doing that, but that's what I do. I do like this Fiskars brand, or Fiskars, I think it's Fiskars. Okay, so that way we got some of the excess off. So you're looking at what we're doing here. So I'm going to do this side now. And I do go in at an angle, just so you know, because this isn't a real deep part. And I just want to make sure that everything looks really smooth on the sides. You could put some glue here. I'm just not going to I don't want to put the glue because I will burn my fingers because of the holes in the doily. That's me. I'm a little accident prone sometimes. All right. You can get these pens at Hobby Lobby. You can get them, I believe, at Joann's. I do have them in my Amazon store as well. Okay, so I'm going to just cut the extras off of here. All right. All right, so I think that's good. Now, when you look at that, just look at it, make sure it's laying right. But I think that's really pretty. Kind of has that farmhouse feel. So if you've watched me before, and I know a lot of you have, thank you so much for following me. We hit that 100,000 mark. You guys are amazing. We're going to put in our little wire here, and I just take 2 little floral pins that I cut down so they're a little bit smaller. And then we're going to put some glue over top of that to help it. I always have that Gorilla Glue sticks in my glue gun as well. Okay, so I put some glue. I'm gonna make sure it's on this little piece of felt, and I just put it over top of that. Oops, got myself there. And then I just take a few more pins and I just go through that glue, and then I know it's not gonna go anywhere. So I'm gonna let this dry and I'll be right back. Okay, so now we're gonna finish off our wreath. I think it's gonna be really pretty. I like how these came together. As you can see, I used 7 petals in the middle, so I only needed 37 petals total. You might be able to get away with 36, and you should be able to eke out 36 in one roll, but I like to be careful. I always have 2 rolls of everything. So let's put this center in, and we're just going to find a spot where it can go down into that grid. I'm going to push it down. There we go. And we just want to cover, we want to look at it and we want to make sure it covers. And I think that looks so pretty. So we're going to just flip it over. And I'm just going to, as you can see, that doesn't even look like it's in the center, but we'll make sure that it looks centered. That's all that matters. It just needs to look centered. So we're going to clip these. And then I always just poke them back right through that mesh. All right, so I'm going to flip it back over. All right, I think it needs to go over just a bit. All right, so I think that's beautiful. I love the way that this turned out. I'm really loving this center. I think this, you could have your petals going this way, you could have them going that way. Either way, I just am really loving this wreath. Again, I will leave you the number for this wreath mesh so that you can search for it and see where you might still be able to find it. I do think you could probably find it on Etsy of all places. But what do I do with the back? I just took a piece of felt. I get felt by the yard. Let's see here. I'll just show you. This is actually a Walmart frame. I took one of these and I just outlined it and cut it with my little scalloped cutters here, my rotary cutter. And what I do is I just take it, I fold it over, I take some really sharp scissors, and I put holes every about 3 inches or so. And then you're just going to attach this on the back of your wreath. I know some people are like, why don't you just glue it? I don't glue it because you use your wreath frame to hang it from. So this is a strong frame, so I want my customer to use this to hang it from. So you're just going to take it, you're going to lay it on top, take little zip ties and connect them like that. I just cut it and then I roll it underneath, and then I've got the back covered. So if you made it this far in the tutorial, and I say this every single tutorial, I say this, thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate you being here to watch me. Your support over the last few years has been amazing, and all the messages I get, you guys warm my heart. Your comments below are amazing. There's very rarely do I have a negative comment, and you know what? The good always outweighs the bad, and I thank you guys for being so amazing. So make sure to follow me on social media. If you made it this far, leave me some sort of fall emoji, something your favorite that reminds you of fall, because it is fall right now. And follow me on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube. If you're not following me here, click that subscribe, and I would love to have you the next time I make a wreath. But let me know what you want to see coming up in the next few months. I hope you enjoy this kind of farmhouse wreath. And until next time, we'll see you later on Julie's Wreath Boutique.